What is good, y'all? It's your boy Spike Lindsay back in the building. Today, I'm just gonna tell you why you need to listen to Fiona Apple's Fetch the Bolt Cutters. It's a great album. Fiona Apple, if you do not know, is a singer-songwriter. First got her start, I think, in 1999. She started with this song called Criminal that blew up real big in the 90s, and she kind of became an overnight sensation because people thought they loved her persona. She had this dark, edgy sound and look. Music back then, until very recently, pop music, mainstream music was super upbeat, super bright. She slowed down her output significantly in the 2010s. She only put out one album in all of last decade, and it was called "The Idler Wheel is Wiser Than the Driver of the Screw When Whipping Cords Will Serve You More Than Ropes Will Ever Do," and has apparently been making this album for the past 7 years. And you can tell, man, this album is crazy good. It's been thought out and it's concise, man. All killer, no filler. That is what Fetch the Bolt Cutters is. So the album starts off with the desperate, the pining, the heart-wrenching, "I want you to love me." That really helps to underlie her lyrics about time and waiting and waiting and waiting for this person to love her. Her instrumentation always serves her lyrics. It's not like she just has a beat and then she sings over it. It's like she always has very specific representations of the themes in her tracks present in her music. So like she's talking about time and waiting. You have this very cyclical piano riff that is playing almost as if it's like, you know, the hours on the clock, how they just spin around and around and around. And all of this kind of represents just this feeling of desire and need that hasn't been met and is kind of continuously being disappointed, you know. And throughout the album, that tension is something that she really tends to come back to. It's such a tense album. It's like, you know, it's an album that's hard for me to listen in public because it's like I want to, I don't know, yell the lyrics or just do something crazy. It's like, so then she has another song called Shamika that I think is extremely relatable. Basically, it's a flashback to middle school. And there's this one girl named Shamika who tells you have potential. That's a that's the hook of the song. Like, Shamika says I have potential. Boom, boom, boom. Fiona Apple has always had an ear for very complex and intricate, like syncopated rhythms. And this album, I think, is probably her grooviest album, which is kind of weird to say because it is kind of a strange sounding album. But there's a lot of moments on this album that, like, as a hip hop fan, as a rapper, I can like nod my head to and kind of enjoy rhythmically in the same way I would enjoy a rap album. On Shamika, where she's practically rapping, there's a passage where she's like, "I'm pissed off, funny and warm. I'm a good man in a storm. Dun 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 dun." Like, it's a rap flow. It does something to me as a rapper that loves emotional music and singer-songwriter music. I'm just like, yes, more of this, please. Like this track, Shamika, I was worried because it's like, I don't need a 40-year-old white woman making a song called Shamika. Like, let's just be real. But let's just be real. I did get a little worried. And it is a little problematic because she has a lyric in there where she's like, Shamika wasn't gentle. And I'm like, why Shamika gotta not be gentle? You don't even know this girl. And by the way, everyone's racist. It's not like I'm saying cancel Fiona Apple, she's racist. But we all have to work on our own prejudices. That's my soapbox for this video. Let's move on. So next song, Fetch the Bolt Cutters. Now, if you want to talk about getting me hype, this is where it starts. She's kind of talking about feeling as though people have been putting her in a box and kind of suffering in it her whole life and being like, now's the moment that I'm gonna like fetch the bolt cutters. I've been in here too long. We gonna cut our way out. So as a black person in America, I can relate to her music. And I think that's why it's like I like Fiona Apple so much, is because while she's a white woman, I'm a black man. She's from the North, I'm from the South. Her dealing with self-esteem, her dealing with people trying to put her in a box, her dealing with issues of abusive relationships and being controlled, rape. I can relate to the idea of somebody trying to take your agency away from you, trying to tell you who you are. And you maim when you're on offense, but you kill when you're on defense. And you've got them all convinced that you're the means in the end. While I've not yet found my bearings, those it girls hit the ground, comparing the way the way I was to the way she was, saying I'm not stylish enough and I cry too much and I listen because I hadn't found my own voice yet. So all I could hear was the noise that people make when they don't know shit, but I didn't know it yet. Woo! If you can't relate to that, you might be the person who's putting people in the box. You might be the it girl in that scenario. But I just want to let you know. It might, you know what I mean? Like give you a little conviction in your heart maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe that's just a word that the Lord is having me minister to you right now through the video. You know what I'm saying? Praise him. We're going to move on. So the next record, Under the Table, is like this Defiant Chant. The opening line is a killer. I would beg to disagree, but begging disagrees with me. Are you kidding me? It's actually a very breezy instrumental, and I think what it does is it kind of highlights her okayness now with being defiant. And then on the hook, on that hook, crash cymbal comes in. The drummer starts playing this chugging, just kind of loping rhythm that just kind of makes you want to The performances of each element in the song. So the drummer's performance, the guitarist's performance, the bassist's performance, her vocal performance, they all just come together. Again, tension and release. It all just comes together to make this super impactful statement. Kick me under the table all you want. I won't shut up. And it's just so effective and it's so cathartic. That's one thing I would call this entire album is cathartic. She follows this up with the excellent Relay, which in the narrative, again, is kind of almost like a flashback. And it's kind of talking about this idea that the evil that is done to you, you then go and propagate on someone else if you're not careful. Evil is a relay sport where the one who burns turns to pass the torch. Almost like a modern Irish folk song, the rhythm of it and the way she's delivering it, it's like a jig. You know those dances where you do your legs like this? That's kind of what it sounds like. And again, just her honesty, her ability to express negative emotions in a very real way without trying to sugarcoat it too much, I think is something that really helps her stand out. After that, we get Rack of His, which I think is a beautiful song for multiple reasons, but I love the way she flips the term like, oh, look at that rack of hers, like, you know what I mean, a woman's breasts, and she turns it into Rack of His. So in this song, she's kind of describing this relationship where she feels undervalued. In the second verse, she kind of starts alluding to like, okay, you find out he's a musician because she says, check out that rack of his. Look at his row of guitar necks. And they don't know what they are in for and they don't care, but I do. I thought you would wail on me like you wail on them, but it was just a coochie coo coo. So throughout the rest of the album, she keeps hitting us with fire. Next, you got Newspaper, where it's a very interesting story. It's about having left an abusive relationship with a man, seeing him going with somebody else and feeling like very close to that woman because you know what she's about to go through or what she is going through. Definitely is a must listen to, at least just for that. Next, you've got Ladies, which is a beautiful, beautiful song. Like, it's probably the most harmonious song on the record. There's certain moments on it that kind of remind me even of like 70s rock even. The chorus sounds like Coming Home, and her vocal performance, as everywhere else on the album, is just so arresting and so filled with grit. There's this beautiful story in Ladies I want to highlight. She is leaving this man and she's gonna leave her dress in his closet for the next woman to get, and she's leaving a letter to say, and she's like, oh, you look good in it. Like, don't worry, you look better in it than I did. Like, I never really fit me. And in fact, I got it from the woman before. And so this idea that women kind of pass the role of being what the man wanted her to be to the next woman. The sentiment of the song is very interesting. It's about like not comparing yourself to any other woman because no love is like any other love. So at this point, we're getting into the back half of the album. The back half of the album is extremely strong. You have Heavy Balloon, which is this kind of it's really groovy. Like, it's the most danceable song on the album, but it's also the one that lyrically deals the most with depression. She has this metaphor where she says, like, people like us, we're holding onto a heavy balloon. It's like everybody else has just a regular balloon and it just stays up. You know what I mean? Like, well, if there's nothing to get you down, you're just there. You know what I mean? But if you're dealing with depression, you have to keep on trying to get to just a neutral state. Oh yeah, so moving on, we got cosmonauts about going through the trials and tribulations of love with somebody and trying to overcome the hardships that you'll deal with in love. And it has this beautiful lyric in the hook where she says, "And you and I will be like a couple of cosmonauts, except with way more gravity than when we started off." The instrumentation is very beautiful. She gets back to piano, and it's honestly more of a piano ballad, but because her vocal performance is so gritty and arresting and emotional, it still stands out. It still doesn't feel run of the mill. After that, you have For Her, which is based on vocal harmonies. It's this very short song that was inspired by the Brett Kavanaugh nomination and the controversy surrounding it with him being accused of rape. There's very little instrumentation in it, and a lot of it is, I think, her and her sister, if I'm not mistaken, doing vocal harmonies with each other. It just gives the song the sense of like stuck in the head of the abuser, and no matter where he turns, he just can't see anything but Fiona Apple closing in on him. And there is this absolutely heart-wrenching bridge where she is everything clears out, all the vocal harmonies. She starts the bridge off with this lyric where she says, good morning, you raped me in the same bed that your daughter was born in." Whoa, after that, you have drum set. Even though it's about maybe negative emotions, it's probably sonically a nice palate cleanser. Somebody not trying enough in a relationship and pleading with them, why don't you just try? At least, I know we have disagreements. I know I'm not perfect, but you really just gave up. Why would you give up on me? After that, you have the album Closer, On I Go, which, to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of. It's a little too repetitive for me. Since this is a video where I'm trying to convince you to listen to the record, I'm not going to really go into that. But yeah, I mean, hey, we did it. We did our first Why You Should Listen To video. Hey, that was Fiona Apple, Fetch the Bolt Cutters. The experimental or sparse instrumentation, it might throw you off at first, but listen to it knowing that she is trying to represent an idea or an emotion with that instrument. So just go into it with that in mind. Go into it knowing it's going to sound different than everything else out there. But if you open your mind, it's so much to unpack. It's so much to enjoy here. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say about this. I've been Spike Lindsay. This has been Why You Should Listen To Fiona Apple's Fetch the Bolt Cutters. And yeah, stay safe. Love you. Peace. I lost my mind trying to break the chains. I don't know if you can do it and stay safe. I destroyed my brain trying to make a name. I don't know if you can do it and maintain. 1 year, tried to get away. Flew to a brighter place. Stay fucked.